Hello, everyone. Welcome to an introduction to voice. This is a part two of a two-part series. To those who joined last month, I think it was the 6th or 9th of July, thank you very much for joining us again. It's myself, Faisal Badat, who'll be going through the bulk of the presentation. And in the background, we have Nina, who's handling the chats. Guys, if I could ask that you please perhaps hold all your questions towards the end. We'll have a question and answer session. I'm going to be covering a number of voice products, but basically touching on the product rules, going through some of the configuration items, and also talking about a number of other areas of the business, for example, number porting, which affects voice products. If I could ask that you please hold your questions till the end, and I'll try and get through as many of them as I can. If not, you're welcome to email me at faisal.badat@voxtelecom.co.za. Okay, in terms of our agenda, for those that missed session one, I do encourage you to please go and relook the video, the replay link of part one. But for those who missed it, I'm going to touch on the most important aspects from part one. We'll then get into the product training, so specific product information, talk about number porting, SLAs, highlight the important information and where to find this important information, and then we'll go through a Q&A. Guys, I'm just going to turn off my camera for now so that you can focus on the presentation in front of you. Okay, as a quick recap from part one. You'll remember there were a few items that make up a voice solution, and these items, I'll go through them in no particular order, but we do need some sort of connectivity to connect a customer site into Vox's core network. And that connectivity, there's many other names for it. It's also known as last mile or access medium. We then may need a voice gateway, which is an optional item, depending on what type of telephony or PBX the customer has. If it's a full-on SIP-enabled IP PBX with the proper licensing, there's no need for voice gateway. But for legacy type PBXs that require ISDN or analog connectivity, we have gateways to match any need. Then there's a rate plan. It's either a per second bill rate plan for businesses or an uncapped rate plan. Number porting, and obviously there needs to be some sort of telephony on site, PBX, phone, some device that the SIP line will terminate into. The other thing we looked at was just an overview of what a typical solution looks like. And I'll start off on the left-hand side. We have a customer that has either a Vox PBX or their own PBX. That connects into a gateway, the voice gateway I mentioned earlier, which is, again, an optional item. In this case, we're looking at a legacy type PBX that requires analog or ISDN trunks. On the gateway, we can connect any other provider on site for redundancy. But the primary form or purpose of the gateway is to route calls over the router and over that last mile access medium into Vox for us to terminate the calls through our interconnects. And we have direct SIP interconnects with all of the major licensed operators in SA. So that's just a simple solution diagram and how the voice actually operates. Then just looking at the products at a glance, we covered this the last time as well, but quickly go over it, and these are the products I'm going to deep dive into just now. There's Crystal, which is our flagship voice over IP service that's offered to businesses. Uncapped Voice, also a business offering. Vox Sapphire, we'll talk about that just now. Chrome Air, where we run voice over broadband LTE services. Vobi, our soft phone application. Superphone, wireless phone for consumer use. Voice Supreme, GSM, which is GSM LCR, the old Premicell type products. Multi-line voice, it's a product that we resell or on-sell from Liquid Telecom, not something that we offering mainstream right now. It's on the list, just in case you can't get any other sort of Vox service into your customer, you can still offer a multi-line voice, which is a Liquid Telecom product, but purchased through Vox. And in SmartShare, I'm not going to touch on SmartShare at all in this presentation, apart from leaving you with the idea that it's a product that's targeting Telkom's 0860 share call services. So if you ever come across an opportunity where your customer has an 0860 number, please come and talk to us about putting in a product that can perhaps save your customers some money and give them a much better service for the 0860 service. Getting into our flagship Crystal product. And Crystal, the name synonymous with crystal clear voice solution. And for this to work, we need a few things. We need to ensure that the service is provided over dedicated last mile. And by dedicated last mile, if you remember from the last session, it's bandwidth or last mile connectivity that has bandwidth allocated exclusively for voice solution. It can be a VLAN or it can be the entire link that's dedicated for voice, but it has to be a dedicated voice solution for us to be able to offer our Crystal service. Because Crystal is a high quality voice service that demands a proper last mile connection. It's also a rate-based type product, so customers contract in for a rate, and we have a number of rate plans to choose from depending on the customer, the requirement, and depending on the existing supplier that you're up against. So it's not always the best idea to go in and choose the most cost-effective rate plan because we're leaving some GP on the table there. If the provider on site is Telkom, you can go in with a much higher call plan, although still show some proper cost savings when compared to the Telkom service on site. So any salesperson or business partner that's putting together a quote directly off Solid will be able to choose from a number of plans that are on our solution. If you're requiring a customized rate plan, here again, please come and talk to us. We'll create a customized rate plan depending on call volumes, etc. Our Crystal product also integrates with any PBX out there. That's any analog ISDN, PBX, or direct SIP PBX, and we'll put in a voice gateway to be able to integrate into the legacy type ports. And then Crystal comes along with number porting, so we offer geographic number porting with this product, and we offer geographic number porting, in fact, with all of our voice products, and I'll talk more about porting in a bit. In terms of the value proposition and the competitive analysis, what I'm showing on this slide is Vox Crystal, that's in the middle column with the values of 25 cents, 35 cents, and 41 cents for different traffic types. We're comparing that to Telkom standard calling rates. And the Crystal rate plan I'm showing here is by no means the most aggressive Crystal rate plan that you can choose. That's one that slots in between. And even with this rate plan, we're still looking at offering a cost savings of anything between 44 and 69%. And that's not taking breakage into account. And by breakage, I refer to what Telkom's per minute billing charge compares like to Vox's per second billing charge. So Telkom still by and large on their standard voice products bill per minute. So for the first, if you talk for 10 seconds, you bill for the entire minute at 45. In fact, it's 55 cents for the first minute and thereafter 40 cents. Whereas with Vox, if you talk for 10 seconds, you charged a percentage of the 25 cents. So it's that value proposition, that cost savings increases. You could add another 10% to that cost savings if we take breakage into account. We then look at a typical case study. In this example, we've got a customer that has a Telkom ISDN primary rate line, and in the table in blue on the left is what they're currently paying. And if you ignore the installation fees, etc., we look at just the monthly annuity rental with call usage. It's around 25,000 Rand a month. We as Vox can go in with a wireless 1 meg solution, which is dedicated bandwidth for Crystal. We can go in with the voice gateway, and I've factored in a gateway that's a top-end gateway. It's really expensive. You can see that's 1,500 Rand a month just for that gateway. And then we know for sure that we're going to reduce that customer's usage from 20,000 Rand down to 10,000 Rand. And all told, we're looking at reducing the monthly bill for this customer from 25K down to 14,000 Rand, which translates into a 45% savings or 11,400 Rand. And as an added benefit, we give the customer as many DDIs or DIDs, which is direct dial inward numbers. We can give them as many as they require at no additional charge. And what that means is if every extension user on the PBX requires their own direct dial number, we'll provide that, as I said, at no additional charge. Next product I want to talk about is Chrome Air, which in a nutshell is running voice services over LTE. Now, with running a voice solution over any broadband type service, this being LTE, which is 100% broadband, we for sure can't guarantee any sort of quality of voice. So there's a toss-up between, should I go with a Crystal type solution or a Chrome Air type solution? And if a customer, if you do go for the Chrome Air type solution, remember it's more cost effective because the monthly rental value for the Chrome Air device with the LTE bandwidth is a lot less than you would pay for dedicated access, but it does come with a slight drawback that there isn't any quality of service we can provide over it. However, we have many customers who are running with the solution and running successfully where the LTE signal is really good. The value proposition here, it's an ideal GSM LCR replacement. So if you still have some sites that are running the old GSM LCR Premicell type solutions, this is an ideal replacement technology. There's lower call charges. You can choose any one of our voice Crystal rate plans to plug into this. And you can even choose the uncapped 5-channel rate plan. It handles multiple inbound and outbound calls, and customers can port their main number. In fact, all of the numbers that they currently have with whichever provider they have, they can port all of that to the service as well. It's also quick to set up. Typically takes anything between 5 and 10 days from handover to projects to have this installed. Just other areas in terms of business rules on Chrome Air, it is obviously coverage dependent. If there isn't any LTE signal in the area, we can't go ahead. We'll run a maximum of 8 concurrent calls over the service. So 8 concurrent calls translates into a service that you can offer to approximately 25 extensions. It's a voice-only solution. So if you have the requirement from your customer to run data over this as well, we suggest you sell 2 separate solutions. One will be Chrome Air that will run voice exclusively, and the other can be any other mobile data product or ADSL or any other broadband to handle its data requirement. As I said earlier, you can choose any one of our call rate plans or even the uncapped 5-channel rate plan. If we're going to be installing the device outside a customer's building to get the best LTE signal, we will require landowner consent to have the antenna installed. And the last point is what I've mentioned earlier, that we can't guarantee voice quality over service because it's broadband. The solution diagram at the bottom there is basically showing us calls that exit the PBX, go through the Chrome Air router, over a mobile network, LTE connection into our network, which is Vox's network, for onward termination via any one of our terminating partners. So the LTE networks that we're currently running on, it's MTN, Vodacom, and Cell C's fixed LTE network. A simple or typical, apologies. We're getting into uncapped voice. In terms of our uncapped voice product, what I'm talking about here is the purpose-built product that we're offering to business customers. Now, uncapped voice comes in 3 flavors or 3 offerings. There's an uncapped 5, an uncapped 10, and an uncapped 15 channel. If you look at the table at the bottom of this slide, you'll notice there's pricing, and there's also the configuration of the product. If I take the uncapped 5 as an example, it's actually configured to allow a maximum of 5 outbound calls at the same time, plus a maximum of 10 inbound calls at the same time. So it's effectively a 15-channel product, but hard-coded like that, 5 out and 10 in. And similarly, the uncapped 10 and uncapped 15 have those types of call limits put in place. The uncapped 15, if you really think about it, it's essentially a 45-channel product because it can allow up to 30 calls coming in at the same time, plus 15 going out. Then going through some of the main items or the key points in terms of this product, the product offers unlimited calling to all SAS destinations as well as popular international destinations. At a rough guess, we'd say approximately 50 to 60% of international destinations are covered by this plan. And these plans or rate sheets are available on SharePoint. I've got more information on that a little later. To offer the uncapped 10 and 15 channel options, we can only offer it over a dedicated last mile. If you think back to the slides just before this, Chrome Air, which is not dedicated or it's a broadband solution, we can offer the uncapped 5 channel on that as well. Call concurrency is fixed as per the table in the slide. It's 1 package per site. So if you have a customer that has a single site requiring 3 uncapped 5s, not possible. Porting to the Vox network is mandatory. So if customer, if they have an existing line with any of the other suppliers, they have to port those numbers to Vox because we need to offset, or we use some of the inbound revenue we derive to offset the outbound call charges. If it's a greenfield site, i.e. it's a brand new site, they don't have any existing providers on site, then obviously porting is not a requirement because there's nothing to port. And pricing and configuration is as I indicated just now, it's in the table below. A typical case study here that incorporates an uncapped 5-channel product together with our Chrome Air solution. So the scenario is as follows. We have a customer that has 4 ISDN BRI lines. We want to replace that technology with a Vox voice solution, and the solution is Chrome Air with the uncapped 5-channel bolted on. And again, if you look at the table with the blue headings on the left-hand side, customers typically paying around 7,800 Rand a month for his line rental plus 6,000 Rand usage. And then the Vox equivalent monthly call charges would be 2,499 Rand. And that's made up of the Chrome Air, hardware, and the LTE SIM. Voice gateway, I've factored in the voice gateway here as well, plus the uncapped 5-channel product at 1,299. So that's a savings of 68%, 5,300 Rand. And again, we offer DDIs. As many numbers as the customer needs, we'll offer it at no charge. Okay, this is quite a busy slide, but I've included in here in terms of all of our uncapped products and how they get configured on our voice platform. Guys, the reason I've put this in here is that there was some confusion in terms of how many channels does a customer get if they're buying a fiber to the business broadband bundle that's inclusive of voice. And if you look at line number 4, row number 4 there, the 4th row down, you'd see that that gets configured as a total of 4 channels. So that's just an example of how to read the spreadsheet. If we take another example, a customer purchases a fiber to the home single uncapped SIP account, and that's 4th from the bottom. You'll see that's set up as 1 in, 1 out, a total of 2 calls. So I think this will be handy and useful information when you're deciding to, or thinking of going in with an uncapped service and you're not 100% sure as to how many channels does this cater for and what does it get set up like. So I hope that this sheet will be useful to you. Okay, moving on to Sapphire. So Sapphire was a product we launched very late last year. And the requirement here was simple. We said, if we come across an opportunity where a customer has for example, a Telkom PRI, we know they're currently paying a monthly rental on that Telkom PRI of approximately, it could be anything between 2,500 to 5,000 Rand a month, depending on where they are in term. And then they're still paying those call rates, the standard call rates that are fairly high. So the value proposition and the offering here was, let's go to market with a product that eliminates the requirement for any monthly rental. There isn't any hardware setup fee or installation fee or configuration fee. The idea is we go in with a product where a customer contracts in for a rate only, and we'll replace the Telkom PRI with a fiber solution and offer them voice over dedicated fiber type solution. So that was the thinking behind the product. And yeah, as you can see there, it's customer contracts in for a rate plan with the minimum billing commitment. We obviously, as Vox, we're picking up a lot of the risk here in terms of the last mile access, in terms of the router that's installed, in terms of all of the gateways that may be required. So in terms of additional information on this, there's the target market. As I mentioned, it was customers who are currently running Telkom BRI, PRI, or analog services, or liquid MLV services, or customers with an on-site PBX requiring a SIP trunk provider. Value proposition is, again, cost savings, and that's always the value proposition with voice through Vox. Low call rates, it's upgradable to 60 channels, and with the customer contracting in for a voice rate plan, all they paying for are voice calls they make, and all of the other components that make up the solution, connectivity, hardware, setup fees, etc., are all covered at no charge to the customer. It also comes with a 24/7 support program. Now, the business rules, as I mentioned, it's a fiber type delivery that we offer the voice over, and it falls into one of 2 categories, either lit or unlit. Lit means buildings that are already lit up where we have a point of presence in terms of fiber in the building. Unlit is areas that are soon to be lit up, but it comes with a lead time of could be 4 to 6 months. The business rules, again, the contract term here is a minimum 24-month contract term. And just as a reminder, the customer does not pay for any of the following: fiber last mile, terminating hardware, installation and setup fees, voice gateway, even number porting, all gets thrown into the deal. If we look at the minimum billing amount, so the concept of minimum billing is as follows. If a customer contracts in, and I'll use an example for an 8-channel Vox Sapphire product that happens to be in a lit area, they're going to commit to their voice spend being a minimum of 2,200 Rand and more. So if we find in any particular month that the voice spend was less than 2,200 Rand, we'd bill the 2,200 minimum billing amount. So it's either billing the higher of minimum billing amount or the actual voice usage spend. And that's the concept of minimum billing. So you can see here the flavors that we offer in terms of Sapphire. There's an 8-channel, a 30-channel, and a 60-channel, and they're broken up into the lit and unlit areas. Unlit areas, you'll see the minimum billing commit is slightly higher than, or a lot higher than the lit areas, and the reason for that is that the risk we carry is much higher in terms of the unlit areas. The rate plan that goes with this is also non-negotiable. It's our standard crystal type rate plan, and on average it's still going to offer at least 40% cost savings over the existing rate plan the customer may have with Telkom. Uncapped calling plans are obviously not allowed in this product as well. So it's just as a recap, it's going in with the call rate, and we as Vox carry all of the risk in terms of the connectivity, hardware, etc. to deliver the service. Vobi. Vobi is Vox's soft phone. We launched this more than 3 years ago. And what it is a smartphone application that you download for either Android or iOS, iPhone. I just want to make a point here, though, because a lot of people are under the misconception that by downloading Vobi, they automatically get a SIP account and they automatically get voice calls from Vox. That isn't the case. Think of the soft phone as that's all it is. It's just a phone. If you purchase a hard phone or soft phone from any other company, you still need to sign up for a line, or you need to sign up for a SIP account to be able to get it to work. And that is the case here with Vox soft phone or Vobi. So you download the application, that's free on both platforms, iOS and Android. However, you need to then contract in or sign up for a SIP account, and we've got a number of SIP accounts that are on offer, either month-to-month type pay-as-you-go SIP account, so you charge a flat rate per call, or an uncapped SIP account. The soft phone has also got some nifty features built into it. It's got G729 codec support, G711 codec support. On average, it uses around 0.5 meg per minute when you're on a voice call. And that's important to note if you're using mobile data as the connectivity medium on your phone. When you're within Wi-Fi, it doesn't really matter because Wi-Fi costs are very low. It also integrates 100% with our hosted IP-Centrix PBX, Virto Supreme, Virto Standard. The whole method of installing this application is simple, and signing up for a SIP account is really simple, as indicated on the next slide. You download the application, you can go online and purchase it, or you can, in your case, you can have your customer come to you, you fill out an application form, do the deal, and get them to sign the contract. From the point of going live, customers emailed their QR code, and the QR code is just a very simple way to set up a username, a password, and a URL for the soft phone to register. You don't need any lengthy passwords, and it's error prone. The user puts in the wrong details, and then the SIP account's not registering. By having a QR code, you open up the email on your PC, and from your phone, you open up Vobi, and you scan in that QR code, and within a minute, your SIP account is set up on the phone, and you're ready to make calls. As I mentioned, there's two offerings here. There's the uncapped calling plan, as well as the pay-as-you-go month-to-month subscription-based calling plan at 29 Rand a month and 46 cents per minute anywhere in South Africa. Superphone, this is a more consumer-type product. It's basically a cordless phone. It's a base station that supports up to 6 handsets, ideal for any type of internet connection that you may have and want to run Vox's voice services, and where the requirement is for a user who still wants a physical phone to use. Perhaps someone that doesn't want to use Vobi can make use of Superphone. in very much the same way as VOBI. Superior sound quality, it's compatible with all broadband type services, and I've listed a few there: ADSL, LTE, fiber to the home, wireless to the home, and even satellite services. You can register up to 6 handsets per single base station, and you can transfer call between handsets. So it almost gives a user trimmed down PBX functionality in terms of where do calls ring. You can have them ring into all extensions or all handsets. You can answer it on handset 1 and transfer to handset any one of the other handsets. It also offers up to 2 simultaneous IP calls, and if a customer still has his ADSL analog line on site or home user, they can plug that line into the base station. So you can use that for redundancy as well. Voice Supreme is it's one of our legacy type products, but still has legs in terms of certain situations. So it's the old, what was called Premicell product, which works off Telkom Mobile's network. So the calls that are made here, it doesn't touch Vox's network at all. It's not our voice over IP solution. What we're doing here is offering a customer or a business partner voice services over using GSM SIM cards. So we make use of Telkom Mobile SIM cards because we've got a good deal with them in terms of much lower calling charges than Telkom fixed line. And it's suitable for situations where you get to a prospect or a customer and you can't get in any form of last mile connection to be able to offer a typical voice solution through Vox. So we'll go in with this because there's no last mile. We'll put down some hardware, we'll connect it into the customer's PBX, and we'll slot in SIM cards into the GSM dialers and route all of those outbound calls from the PBX through the dialer directly through Telkom's network, Telkom Mobile's network that is, to the called party. Now, the value proposition here is, again, okay, it's lower call charges, but it's free hardware. There isn't any setup fee. And we also offer per second billing rates that go with this. For a single home user that doesn't have a PBX, doesn't have any internet connectivity to be able to run voice over IP like the Superphone or VOBI over, we do offer the handset, and there's a little picture of that handset there. It's a standalone desktop GSM handset. The SIM card slots into that, and the user will be able to make and receive calls using one of Telkom Mobile's numbers. In terms of the savings, there's still typically around 15 to 40% cost savings when looking at calls that are terminating to fixed line or mobile. So it's a decent enough cost savings to still justify the product. And as I said, we still have a requirement in some areas where we can't get decent last mile or connectivity in. We can offer this solution. It's also a good interim solution while waiting for fiber to come through. It's also a good failover solution where you have a voice solution that's running over fiber and the customer has got a few analog ports available on his PBX. We can plug in some dialers and leave them on site purely to offer outbound redundancy. Should something go wrong on the voice over IP service, the PBX can overflow calls through these GSM dialers. Okay, moving on to the next. It's not really a product, it's an add-on, it's a value-added service that we offer across all of our voice products, which is number porting. So there's quite a lot to read on this slide, but I'm not going to go through every single item verbatim. We offer geographic number porting, and that's landline numbers that can be ported from one operator to another. Geographic numbers, I've given some examples there of what they look like. The prefixes start with 01 or 02 or 03. Non-geographic numbers that start with 0800, 086, 087, those numbers are still not within number porting. You can't port those numbers. We think it may happen in the next few months, but again, it's sitting in ICASA's court at this point in time. We need to get clarification or hear from them via Government Gazette as to when this will happen. But we seem to think it will be in the next few months. Porting costs, so there's always 2 charges when it comes to porting. The first charge is what Number Portability Company, and that's the company that administers all porting, for whether it's mobile number porting or geographic number porting, they administer all porting within SA. They charge a fixed rate of 40 Rand per number. There is some discretionary discounts they offer from time to time, but by and large, it's 40 Rand per number. The second charge, and and this is purely Telkom right now, who they're the only operator that charges when they lose a number. So as an example, if we're porting a number from Telkom to Vox, Telkom charge Vox either 76 Rand if it's a single number, that's at 76 Rand per number, or 577 Rand for a block of numbers that's being ported. As an example, a block of numbers would be a PRI that has a number block of 100 numbers assigned to it. Telkom would charge a once-off cost of 577 Rand to have those numbers ported to Vox. As I said, just bear in mind there's always two sides to, or two charges when it comes to porting. There's number portability company and there's Telkom when losing a number to Vox or to any other provider. If we're porting between providers, for example, Vox and IS or ECN or MWeb or MTN, there isn't any charge when those providers lose their numbers to Vox. It's only Telkom that's charging that at this point in time. Again, I've given a simple example there in terms of what the porting charges would look like if a customer was porting 10 numbers to Vox. Just to add on to porting, there's some useful information here in terms of what documentation is required. It's always good due diligence to get company or individual identification, to get a provider bill confirming that the existing numbers that are going to be ported actually belong to the provider that's on site. There's a Vox porting application form. It's literally a copy and paste from a template we've put together, which the customer needs to sign off and send back to us. And in terms of restrictions, these are situations where a number cannot be ported. And the most important one here for me is where an account is suspended. So very often we'll get back from Telkom or the provider that's losing the number that the numbers can't be ported because there's some outstanding monies due by the existing customer. So the ruling is very simple and straightforward on this. If there's existing monies owing to Telkom, as an example, that isn't enough reason for them to withhold the port. They can only withhold the port if that account is already suspended. So bear that in mind. If it's just monies owing, but your customer is still able to make and receive calls over Telkom service, they can't reject that port based on monies owing. The service has to be in a suspended mode. The other situations where a number can't be ported was if a number has been ported to provider A within a 60-day or 2-month period, it can't be ported from supplier A to supplier B. If the number does not belong to the account holder, it can't be ported either. And if a customer, for example, is based in Johannesburg and their number starts with 011, then the customer is relocating to Cape Town, that number can't be ported to a geographic area outside of Gauteng or outside of Johannesburg. Porting process is fairly simple and self-explanatory. How long does it take to port? On average, 21 work days. We've had some ports go through within 2 days, but on average, it's a 21 workday cycle. And then very important as well is, will the service with the current operator be automatically cancelled? And the answer there is no. The customer still needs to contact the existing provider and let them notify them to cancel the service. It doesn't automatically cancel. And then where can you check which operator a number belongs to? And there's a public website that Number Portability Company have put together where you can log in, put in a number, a geographic number that is, and it will output the provider it belongs to. Okay, that's it for porting. Guys, just in terms of the wrap up, I want to talk also very quickly around our SLAs that we offer. So we recently launched an advanced voice SLA, and the highlights of this advanced voice SLA is that a customer gets a dedicated support desk, committed response times, hardware replacement within 1 business day in metropolitan areas, a monthly report pack showing how well the voice service performed, and I'll show you some examples of what that report pack looks like. Proactive alerts and monitoring, so if the link goes down, we automatically call the customer and let them know what's going on. We'll report it to the upstream provider if it isn't a Vox link. Access to voice metrics on customer zone, so a customer doesn't have to wait for the report pack. They can also log in and at any given time in the month look at how well the voice is performing. Here's an example of what a customer would see if they logged in and looked at the last 30-day graph for voice calls. And this is a MOS, mean opinion score graph. Calls are rated anything between 1 and 5, with 5 being excellent. We maintain an aim for 4 and higher. And as you can see in terms of this graph, over the last 30 days, the customer has had a large percentage of the calls that are green, which is a MOS score of 4.3 and higher, which is very good call quality. Other graphs that customers will be able to look at is also concurrent calls, inbound versus outbound, at any time in the day or in a particular month, what the call statistics look like inbound versus outbound. There are also things like mean opinion, not mean opinion score, I've covered that. There are also things like total calls. There's things like ASRs, answer seizure ratios, that we make part of the graphs that are available to customers. And ASR is a good statistic to see as a percentage of outbound calls that are made, what percentage are actually being answered by either a human or by a machine or by voicemail. And it gives a good indication of the network that is handling these calls. Anything under 40% is indicative of a problem. All right, and then as a final slide in terms of important information is, where can you find this presentation? It's on SharePoint. In fact, anything you need to know around voice and the products I've spoken about, Crystal, Chrome Air, Uncapped Voice, Voby, Voice Supreme, etc., can be found. Business rules, detailed business rules can be found in SharePoint. The following items can be found in SharePoint. I've got the link here. Under general documents, you'll find the rate sheets. I mentioned a few rate sheets that we have available, with those that are aggressively priced as well as those that got higher GP values in them. You can download those rate sheets at your leisure. There's a quoting guide. So for the sales guys as well who want to know how to quote a Crystal service or Chrome Air, there's a summarized quoting guide in this general documents folder. There's number porting templates. And these templates are what I mentioned earlier, where you can copy, paste onto a customer's letterhead to get them to sign when making application for porting. Introduction to voice, these presentations that I've gone through, from Introduction to Voice Part 1 as well as Part 2, and the link to where you can replay the videos as well. Handover requirements for projects. So this is very important. The documentation that's required to be able to get your deal into projects. It's very, very, very important that you go over the handover requirements, or what's known as the project intake document. There's also additional details on our voice SLA, and our 2-page voice T's and C's is also found in general documents. So guys, I put this at the end of the slide because this is really important. It's your go-to point for anything you need to know around voice. If you don't find what you want there, then you're welcome to call myself or Linnell Davids, and we're more than glad to help you. Okay, guys, if there are any questions, I will take it now.
Faisal, we have a few questions. We have Robin, who's asking, when Voby is part of a hosted solution, is the charge 29 Rand?
All right, so we've got a good question here from Robin. And the question is, when Voby is sold as part of a hosted PBX or IP-Centrix PBX solution, does the 29 Rand still apply to Voby? And the answer is no. When Voby is sold as part of a hosted PBX solution, the application is free, and the call charges that are applicable when Voby is used will be the same as the call charges that are applicable if a handset is used. Okay, so just to summarize that again, when Voby is sold as part of an IP-Centrix PBX, there isn't any additional charge for Voby. It's free. Okay, next question.
Okay, we have another one from Robin. Can you use a cordless phone for Voice Supreme?
Okay, the next another question from Robin is, can a cordless phone be used for Voice Supreme? Unfortunately not. We don't have any cordless phones that are Voice Supreme or SIM card compatible. The phone we do have right now is just the desktop phone. It's a Huawei F317. Sorry, Robin.
Okay, another question from John. How many kilobytes do you allocate per voice line also, and why, and what we charge for porting?
So a question here is, how many kilobits does a typical voice call use? So we work on a rule of thumb of 32 kilobits per voice call if we're using the codec G729. And then the second part of the question was, what are our porting charges? I covered that earlier. It's 40 Rand per number, and that gets charged by Number Portability Company. And then if the number's moving from Telkom to Vox, then Telkom get to charge Vox either 76 Rand per individual number, or per individual line, I should say, that's moving, or 577 Rand for the a block of numbers that's moving. And these are all once-off call charges. It's not monthly call charges. Okay, next. Guys, thank you very much for joining this webinar. I hope you all have learned something additional here. And as I said, if there's any other information you need, please drop myself an email, and you're welcome to give either Linnell or myself a shout. Thank you, guys. Cheerio.